remember to turn on all notifications so you don't miss a video. I praise Attack on Titan a lot, but every story has its flaws. For the most part, AOT does a great job at making arcs entertaining and engaging, but there is one arc that stands out as the weakest for me, and that is the Clash of the Titans arc. One thing I respect AOT for doing is switching up the plot style or formula. I'll talk about this in One Piece is Too Long, but it allows for the story to be constantly refreshing and never feel repetitive or stagnant. Sadly, the story wasn't always successful at this, and the best example is the Clash of the Titans arc. The first attempt at this style shift is the beginning of the Clash of Titans arc, which lasts 8 chapters, starting from 35. The first and smaller problem with this section is how uneventful it is. Half of the time is spent on world building and flashbacks about the walls, the priest, Sasha, Historia, and Ymir. The flashbacks feel very stiff here. If you're going to give exposition, which a flashback falls under, you have to make it interesting or execute it in a way that the audience doesn't realize that they're being fed exposition. This is not the case for this section. The exposition scene with the priest in 37 has an interesting question that the audience wants an answer to, but the execution is so long-winded. But now that I think about it, the AOT manga, and to an extent the anime, have never been good at delivering exposition. An early example would be the Titan exposition in the middle of chapter 4. The chapter pauses for a flashback explaining Titans for 4 pages straight. Just one guy teaching the class in an excruciatingly verbose monologue. I'm still working out the specifics of how to make good exposition and dialogue, but I know bad exposition when I see it. The other half of the arc is spent on plot and action. Before I get into action, I believe a major reason I'm not fond of the plot is because it feels like a bottle episode. In case you don't know, a bottle episode is defined as an episode of a television show that is written so that it requires only one set or scene and a limited number of cast members. I don't have a problem with bottle episodes in general, but here, it feels like the plot was stopped and certain characters were put in this isolated location so that they could be given development in the form of arcs and backstories. The fact that this development couldn't be synthesized into the main plot and had to be put in a bottle is disappointing, and the fact that the writing is so obvious with its intentions is dissatisfying. It's like Isayama is saying, I want you to like Krista and Ymir. Aren't they great characters? I'll talk about this in my Hunkel Dragon Quest video, in my id vs Super Ego script, and we'll talk about it in the future. But when it feels like an author is trying hard to get me to like a character, I end up disliking them. That's the case during these 8 chapters. On the bright side, there's good mystery and lore development. Showing the Jaws Titan to Reiner was another one of the goals this section had, and it becomes painfully obvious later. But I'll get there. Now, action. As a member of the action genre, action is one of the main strong suits and appeals of this story, so having well-executed action is paramount to the quality of the story. The first major action scene is when the Beast Titan makes his introduction. This scene is carried by the shock of what is presumably a new Titan shifter. The actual fight is unimpressive, but at least it serves as a magnetic hook. Next is Sasha's fight. She has one encounter with a small Titan, but because she doesn't have her maneuvering gear, the fight isn't interesting and epic like most have been up till now. Once again, the story is giving its C game for these action scenes. The next happens around the castle. The soldiers without their gear are forced to find a way to fight smaller Titans, while the ones with gears are outnumbered and easily killed. The Jaws Titan reveals itself and reinforcements arrive at the end. Once again, the main characters, not the fodder, don't have any gear, limiting the level of quality that the fight can deliver. The way Ymir's Jaws Titan fights is just not as engaging as the attack, female, or armored Titans combat. As we've seen and will see, they can use martial arts that introduces a layer of strategy. Ymir is too tiny for that. She just jumps around and slashes. For the 3rd time, we're given an underwhelming fight. Combine this with my lack of interest in her character, and this whole section of the arc is a massive letdown. For showing the Jaws to Reiner, Isayama put Reiner, Bertholdt, and Ymir in a situation where they have to defend themselves but don't have any gear. They were singled out and stripped of their gear because they were suspected of working with Annie. This would force the Jaws to transform in front of the others. There are 2 problems with this plan of outing the traitor. The first is that they could have taken an approach similar to how they did with Annie, trying to get them underground. I'm not sure how their approach of keeping watch on them was supposed to reveal anything. Second, a background check that comes soon after is what exposes Reiner and Bertholdt, making the whole isolation plan useless. From a writing standpoint, isolating them was clearly for the purpose of creating a situation where they can see the Jaws Titan, along with the others I mentioned. Once this purpose is accomplished, Ymir is barely relevant. She fights for a short time again, but is heavily implied to have been killed off screen, then given a quick flashback of Marcel about to eat her. She wasn't even used in the battle at Shiganshina, even though she joined the Marlians. She was an obvious tool. All characters are tools, but it is only once their purpose becomes extremely blunt that it becomes a problem. That's when they start to feel like a tool or a device. Again, all characters are tools, but smooth writing makes the audience forget or hides it from them. The rest of the arc is fine. The bottle is removed and the plot resumes alongside the other three pillars. Eren vs Reiner is easily the best fight in the story, and some other impactful moments happen. I really wanted to focus on the first half of the Clash of the Titans arc to break down why I disliked it so much. In conclusion, the first half of the arc is disappointing because of its heavy-handed exposition, its bottled plot that pauses most of the overarching plot, its painfully obvious intentions with characters and plot, and inability to synthesize, its underwhelming action, and the plot eventually abandoning the use for the events that created the bottled plot. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.